I want to talk about a verse that is often taken out of context a lot of times, especially when the Christian culture talks about modesty. In 1 Samuel 16, we see the story of David being chosen as the anointed king. And we see in this passage, that verse, how God looks at the heart while man looks at the exterior. And a lot of times we use this verse as a means to say, God doesn't care how we dress or what we wear, it only matters about our heart. And that actually isn't true, nor is it what the passage is teaching. Look, back in these times and cultures, when they went to look for a king, they were looking for somebody big and strong and prominent in stature, wise, and a lot of times even handsome. Kings back then had dark hair, dark eyes, dark skin complexions. So a lot of times, this is what human nature would look for when looking for a leader. However, it says that David was ruddy. And this basically means he was redheaded, which probably indicates he may even had fair skin and freckles. The Bible also says he was the youngest, which means he may not even have the body build of a grown man just yet, being he was the youngest of the sons. It also talks about how he was the shepherd, which was considered the lowest job in the family and sometimes even given to the youngest to teach them responsibility. His dress was not even mentioned, nor any exposure was mentioned. What this whole message is implying is that when God anoints somebody, these physical character traits and the things the world looks for cannot void the anointing of God. We must keep in mind that modesty is a choice. These things that it lists in these passages are not choice. We cannot control our age. We cannot control necessarily our occupancy within a family back then in that culture. We could not control the color of our hair or our eyes. But dress is something we do control. We choose what we put on and how we present ourselves to the world. And this ruddy, boyish king even reminded us of this later in his life when he wrote this in the Psalms. In Psalm 25:13, he tells us that those who fear God will want to make sure they include God into the choices that they make. So, yes, God does care what we look like on the outside, not in regard to the physical character traits that He made us, but to how we choose to represent ourselves, because it's a reflection of the inside heart, which this does correlate to the passage. David's heart was willing and obedient to Him, and every decision he was going to make was being funneled through God. If anything, this passage promotes modesty because it's reminding us that every decision we make in life, no matter what it is, including what we wear, should be funneled through God's eyes. And we should be asking God, are you pleased with this? Some of us don't want to ask that question because our heart really is living in rebellion and it's being reflected on our outside.